Moving on to the editorial, in this editorial, the author says that the Hindutva politics has co-opted Mandal politics. There is now, since the Hindutva politics has evolved and it has a strong hold even in North India now. Um, it was it was it was thought that the Mandal politics is diminishing, but the author says no, it is not that. Rather, Mandal politics, which was a backward class movement, as I have told you, started by Samajwadi Party and Rashtriya Janata Dal. So these parties are facing crisis because their role is minimizing, their political structure is falling apart. So because this is happening, the Mandal political parties are facing the crisis. So it was also thought that Mandal politics as such of the backward classes, it would also fall. But this is not so. The author says that the Mandal politics has been co-opted and assimilated by the Hindutva group. So it seems very contradictory, right? Because Hindutva group comes up with a different agenda altogether. It has a different ideology. But what is happening is that now it is co-opting Mandal politics into the electoral politics. So now, as he says that the Hindutva has become hegemonic by capturing the Mandal space, right? So it is rather gaining more power by capturing Mandal space rather than leaving it altogether. So the primary vehicle of assertion of these backward castes left out by the established parties. So the established parties, they are weakening, but Mandal politics is not weakening as such. There is a political consciousness of the less numerous and scattered backward caste groups. Now, a very important feature of backward caste groups is that they are scattered and they are less numerous in smaller regions. So they are scattered throughout the country. Whereas if you look at the Dalit groups within a village, they would be more, you can see a more close nexus. You would see a more solidarity amongst them. Whereas for backward caste, what happens that they are very widespread and they are less numerous when you look at a specific region. So mobilizing them and forming a political consciousness is a challenge. Now, there are dominant castes coming up. So bring M.N. Srinivas also into the picture, because what is a dominant caste? Dominant caste groups, basically, according to Srinivas, would be numerically stronger groups. They have material power in terms of land. They also have a representation in the politics. So what is happening is that now dominant caste groups are not just upper caste groups, rather even the middle caste groups from the backward class and backward caste, they are emerging as dominant caste because with political mobilization, with strengthening of land, and because of their large numbers, they are coming up as a dominant caste, as Srinivas and Kothari would say. Now, Mandal movement, the author says that there was a split in 1980s and 1990s. So the dominant caste groups, they eventually managed to emerge there were certain dominant caste groups, backward caste groups, they emerged as political elite of Mandal politics, right? So not everybody had the benefit. Rather, there are economically weaker sections within backward caste groups who remained weak, right? But there are dominant caste groups who became political elite with Mandal politics. And within North India, it has been seen that they became very powerful in that way. Now, what happened is that SP, the Samajwadi Party, what it had done is that it had shed its progressive and socialist moorings and braced social conservatism. Now, this is a contradiction, right? But as the parties evolve with the changing dynamics, they also change their ideological formation. And this is what Samajwadi Party also did once, that they shed its progressive outlook and they started promoting and supporting big industrialists, and they outsourced their organizational machinery to local elites from the dominant caste groups. So earlier they were supporting the dominant backward caste groups. Now they started moving to few local elites as well. So the whole idea is to see how the within the political regime, there is a shift in ideology as elections approach. And so we see that the industrialist groups were co-opted by the Samajwadi Party once. Now what is happening? The Mandal politics is being the aspirations of the politics has been co-opted by the Hindutva group. So now there was a space that was left out by the Mandal political parties, and this was taken up by the Hindutva political parties. Now it is interesting. The author says that the Hindutva political parties, what they do is they help in the symbolic resources, right? But when it comes to material resources, there is again, so how a particular political party would also take up an agenda and work towards it, how a certain issue would be taken up by different parties would also differ. So for instance, when a specific caste group, backward caste group called Rajbhar caste, they wanted subcategorization and reservation, which was not accepted by the Hindutva group and the political party. So there is always this force of competitive caste assertion for material resources, and there are micro identities and there are evolving factions within numerous caste groups. So there is an assimilation when they have to fight against a common group, but then there would also be faction and there would be breakage in the identity, and a lot of micro identities would emerge when they have to when there is a clash and conflict and contradiction within the party. So